Tired of dealing with annoying flies, fruit flies, and gnats in your home? The Zevo Flying Insect Trap is your ultimate solution. Don't wait. Check out the link in the video description now to get your Zevo Flying Insect Trap on Amazon and enjoy a bug-free home today.
The best 2D shooter of recent years isn't Japanese but made in Edinburgh, with a stunning debut from a talented new team. The question of a video game's country of origin has been in the news a lot in recent months, from the debate over whether the term Japanese role-playing game is discriminatory to the extreme Yorkshireness of thank goodness you're here. In some cases, it's very obvious where the developer of a game hails from, and sometimes it's a shock, like when you find out the best 2D shooter of the generation was made in Scotland, possibly from girders, we're not sure. Admittedly, the 2D shooter, we've always disliked the abbreviation shmup, is not overburdened with new releases, but it's always been one of our favorite retro genres. From ancient trailblazers such as R-Type and Salamander to relatively newer titles like Treasure's Radiant Silver Gun and Ikaruga. We have a particular preference for vertically scrolling shooters, and that just happens to be what Cygni is, including some obvious homages to both Treasure's work and the classic Raystorm. In fact, at first glance, you'd assume this was a new Treasure game, just with more modern production values, and there's no greater compliment we can give it than that. Strangely, most of Cygni's faults lie in terms of its front end, not the gameplay itself. Despite an expensive-looking intro, with licensed music, the plot goes absolutely nowhere, and you only end up with the barest of excuses for why you're fighting giant tripodal robots and crazed space drills. Not that you need a story with a 2D shooter, but it's weird that so much effort has been expended on such forgettable fare. Once you start the game proper, you're faced with some shockingly good visuals, as dozens of enemies fill the screen at once. None of them take much effort to shoot down, but the assault is absolutely relentless, with the thud of your space cannons, as they rip apart enemy fighters, sounding like rain on a hot tin roof. The mix of gameplay, graphics, sound effects, and an excellent orchestral soundtrack, is arguably the best there's ever been for a 2D shooter, and it feels fantastic. Although it's poorly explained, by an inadequate tutorial, the main gimmick of the game is that you have a shield and energy system not unlike the old Star Wars, X-Wing games. Shields and energy can be filled up to a maximum of 5 units each, but if you don't have a full complement you can shunt one into the other. This is a brilliant idea, and since adding or subtracting takes only a single button press, it can be done on the fly, according to your needs. When enemies die, they often leave behind an energy pickup, which by default will charge your shields, but if you're maxed out will be used as credits for the in-game store between missions. So, if you need to finish off a boss quickly, many of them disappear after a certain time, you can risk losing some shield strength, while remembering that on the medium difficulty and above there are no lives or credits. Likewise, if you're in trouble you can shunt weapons power to your shields, except that makes it less likely you'll be able to defeat the enemies and get the energy you so desperately need. You have 2 different guns, one for air-to-air work and one for ground attack, and each can be used manually or with a lock-on that slightly decreases the effectiveness. Both can also be angled manually using the right stick, with the ground weapon able to target anywhere on screen and the main cannons able to rotate about 45 degrees in front of you. It's a great system, that means an inexperienced player can last surprisingly long, especially on easy, since your ship can take multiple hits even without collecting extra energy or sacrificing weapons power. There's also a range of missiles, smart bombs, and additional weapons, including options and alternative fire patterns, that can be switched between or activated once you've unlocked them in the shop. Some of these also use shield or weapons power, and yet the game can be played with or without them and it still doesn't feel unbalanced. Mechanically, Cygni is excellent, but the level design is also top-notch, even if for some reason the first level is 3 times the length of any of the others. It's a great one though, with lots of different mini-bosses, a good mix of ground and air targets, and, most importantly, a great sense of pacing. Like a good light gun game, no matter how